You received a call from an inmate at the Department of Corrections. This call will be recorded and monitored. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, hang up.
Well, hello there, Wei Wei. It's nice to hear from you again. How are things going? Well, that's good news. And so, oh, well, drug overdose. It doesn't surprise me that somebody would get drugs in prison, but an overdose. Uh, well, that's good. I'm glad he survived. It's just that big question is why in the world would he be going through all that trouble to get drugs while he's locked up like that? I mean, the problems that can be created from that are incredible. Okay. Yeah, that's a big concern of mine. They're locking people up for long periods of time, and they're they're not willing to give them the proper medical attention. And I don't know what it is, but I get a lot of comments that if I'm talking about a incarcerated person, the comment is that these people committed a crime, they knew what they were doing, and they deserve to be locked up, and that's that. Well, I know that, you know that, but a lot of victims and their families, they they really aren't looking to rehabilitate people or get them back out on the street. They're just they're trying to get some kind of closure by having this person locked up for a long period of time, and I'm not sure how they feel that that's going to make things better. Even if we were to execute a person, it's not going to change that terrible crime. Right? Yeah. Nothing changes, and forgiveness is based on the individual. There's people out there who can be forgiven and they'll never know it. It's just that the individual who does the forgiving, they feel better. And that's what that's really what we're looking for, our own personal comfort and something like that. And prolonging it, I just don't see any basis for that. Well, yeah, that too. The medical coverage in prison is just terrible. And I'm glad that you told me about this, and I can look into it and get the word out, because we need to end crime. Well, definitely, I agree with that. The system is supposed to be set up for correction and not to just stick them in a big warehouse and lock the door and forget about it. And I've talked about the cost. And there's some prisons in Washington, one in particular that's just extremely expensive. And you have lawsuits because people die in prison, or they
You have 60 seconds
receive a
remaining.
serious injury, and the medical costs are astronomical. So there's a lot of medical cost involved, as well as just the general day to day necessities: food, shelter, clothing. That is true. And I wish we could give everybody the minimum wage, but
You
that's
have
another
30
fight.
seconds remaining.
Well, okay. I'll see if I can reach out to your friend. Hopefully, he'll be back And maybe we can start concentrating on the real issue. It's not the drugs. It's there's some kind of psychological attack going on in them. We need to find out what it is. Okay, you take care of yourself, and everybody know if they have any issues, let me know and we'll get it out there. Yeah,
Thank you for
definitely.
using Inmate Call. Goodbye.
Well, hello. Welcome to AQS Inmate Call, and I'm your host, Joel Wilborn. And this is an episode about the treatment of people in prison. And we all know that folks, when they commit a crime and they go to trial and they're convicted and they go to prison, it's we are hoping that's what they deserve. We're hoping that if they committed a heinous crime, they got a terrible, long, vicious little sentence. That's what we're looking for. And if they stole bread to feed the family, the punishment is less severe. It's kind of hard these days in the United States to tell the proper sentencing and punishment for a crime because it's changing. And we're getting people that are committing crimes and they're getting out quickly. It's just like a revolving door. And yeah, it's been around for years. It's just that no one really seems to be tackling it. And one of the big things I look at is the cost of locking a person up. I think that information should be shared. If a person is sentenced, we don't want it to influence their decision on making the proper punishment. If they feel this person needs to go in for life and they find out it's going to cost, $18 million to lock the person up, I don't think they should just weigh that factor and lessen the punishment. It should be that they'll listen to the case, the defense, the prosecution, and then make their decision. And then maybe when they go home and read the paper, people should advertise that this person got 5 years in prison and this is what it's going to cost the state. And if we do this properly, the people will get their just sentence. It's just that we're not going to rule out alternative sentencing. We'll look at the crime, we'll look at what we can do to help this person get back into society. Because these people that we lock up, no matter what the sentence, they're going to get out one day. And they could be angrier than when they went in. They could be happier. Or they may not even care. A lot of the folks I work with, they get out and they just want to blend into the crowd and disappear. And you can go to the grocery store and they're standing in front of you in the line at the cashier's checkout. Or they could be driving a bus that you're riding on. So it's not something that you can just dismiss. And if these people go to prison and they're not receiving the proper medical care, they're not receiving proper training, they're not getting counseling, they're not listened to, things could get worse. And that's why I like working with folks that want to succeed. They'll tell me up front, I want to get out and I want to stay out. I don't want recidivism. And that helps. That's a great motivator. And it's working. They get out, they don't go back. I'm happy to say that. And when I go on Twitter and read some tweets from other folks that are advocates and part of the support team of incarcerated people, they have the same thing. And just imagine if you commit a crime, your family abandons you, your friend, you lose your job, your home, you lose the respect in the community. And then you're locked up and you're treated like you're nothing, like you have no meaning in life, and then you get out, and of course society's still treating you bad. It's like, oh my goodness, you're an ex-con. Whether you committed the crime or not, it's tough getting back into society, and it's tough getting them that reputation knocked away. But what we have to look at is once a person serves the time, it should be cleared. They should be able to walk back out with a clean slate. And that's not asking too much. The ones that we should be concerned about are the ones that are still out there. The people that commit murder and they're not caught, they're not convicted, and they move in next to you and maybe start watching you and your family and targeting somebody. Those are the ones we should be concerned about. Those are the ones we need to look out for. The folks that are in prison right now in the correctional centers, what harm are they going to do you? Unless, of course, they escape, and then they're advertised as, armed and dangerous, or don't approach this person. And it just goes to show that we can at least tap into this, because when we have a person locked up, we know that person committed a crime and we know what this person is capable of doing. So it's easy to advertise that. And if the person serves the time and gets out, we should follow up. I see no reason why somebody, from the Department of Corrections should go over and find out how the person's doing, if they need anything. And some of them want that independence. It's like, well, you don't need to call me, I'm just fine. But if these people request it, yeah, check up on me once in a while, because although I know I have the skills and the motivation to not do these crimes, there are times things get so rough that I need a little helping hand. And if you just reach out and say hi, it can make a difference for me. And that kind of support on the outside, I think we should really be emphasizing. We should be getting involved with. It's just, in this case with Weiwei, his friend took a lot of drugs, had a drug overdose. And, it shouldn't surprise you that there are drugs in prison, and it's easy to get them in there, and it's very profitable. And a person who goes all that trouble and then takes too much, there might be a little bit more to it. Why would somebody go through all of that? Risking staying in prison longer, risking death, risking the other incarcerated people turning against them because, they're the fact that they got these drugs, and they could be under scrutiny now, highly watched. Friends could be interviewed to try to find out the source, and maybe it will expose it. There's a lot this person puts at risk, and it's just like suicide. There was something that was so bad in the person's life that they had to kill themselves just to get away from it. And drug addiction really isn't that big of a difference. The drugs are like suicide. These people are willing to put these poisons into their body and risk death and risk isolation, risk being shunned by society. What is it that's so motivating that causes people to do something like that? And when I talk about people who are incarcerated and the cost of it, let's say we have a person that's in prison and that person belongs there. We just simply say, this person committed this terrible crime, got the right sentence, and deserves to be locked up in there. It's going to cost money for medical. It's going to cost money to feed the person. and it's going to take staff, and it's going to take time. And if we're serious and we want to keep this kind of bad conduct off the streets, like I said, this person we know has the problem. We know this person committed the crime, and so we can easily work with this person. And I think that's a really good start. And I really like the wisdom that these folks have. When these people commit this crime, they can tell us how to protect ourselves, or they could give advice to children. And a lot of children are going through some phases in their life that we don't know about. Even as a parent who's very close to the child, a suicide could really shock the parent. And the parent could think, I talk to the person regularly, or my child regularly, and I send text messages, and then this happens. Well, an inmate who says something that this child relates to will have a little bit more effect. Children look up to their parents. They're supposed to be good people. They're supposed to be good examples. And so if they do something that they feel that their parents are going to be shamed about, they may not want to talk about it. And I've seen that to be the case of a lot of people that are incarcerated. They just don't want to talk about it. So we'll have to kind of ease our way into a situation where the people will feel comfortable talking, and we can get this out, and we can address it, and we can use the money to help rehabilitate the person and support the person once they're released. And that's where I like to come in when the person walks out the door. Imagine having an organization that just specializes in that. Just like Alcoholics Anonymous. Having people there to support these folks. And I would be all for, an ex-convent club that people can just go to. And that's kind of like what the American Quitted Society is. It's someplace that they can reach out to and find folks that share a common interest. In one case, it's being an ex-con. Another one could just be maybe an addiction, or just being an outcast, or misrepresented. So let's use prison for what it's supposed to be, a correctional center, something to help correct a wrong. And a lot of these folks that are in prison are victims. We may not want to admit that, but something happened. I know one person commented on the thing I was saying about people mistreating the inmates, and this person was saying, so it's society's fault that they're in there? Of course it's not society's fault. We don't force people to a life of crime. But there's something that the person feels was not addressed when it needed to be. Something missing from this person's life. And all we're asking society to do is just kind of pay attention to that, especially to those that we already know. Like I said, it's locked up. Let's help them to get the support that they need. Supportive relationships are extremely important. We can cut back on the crime that's committed inside of the prison, and we can cut back on recidivism by not looking at the solution as imprisonment, but maybe doing ankle monitoring and giving them that drive to get out and work, or maybe putting them in classes, having them say you can reduce your sentence if you take certain classes and can respond to more of a positive society, or if you share your wisdom with school-age children, give them a reason. Let them know that their crime is a terrible thing, but it's not the crime that's going to determine their acceptance in society. It's what they do about it. Are they going to just spit in people's face, or are they actually going to try to offer retribution? We won't know that until we talk to folks, until we try to understand what they're going through. And when we talk to them, we can also learn how we can help in this trend, and through the perspective of the person that's been there. And it could offer some stuff we never thought about. So I like this open communication, and I like the fact that we have the folks in one area and we can work with them. So let's not just lock them up and forget about them. Let's show them that there's people out there that want them to succeed. And let's face it, everybody likes to be complimented here and there. It's not something we get up in the morning and say, I hope nobody hope somebody doesn't compliment me today. We like to hear it. It sounds good. And it motivates us, moves us forward. Well, hopefully you'll get out and talk to people, your friends and family, and maybe reach out to some of the inmates that are listed on my YouTube channel, and we can begin the process of healing the victims and the incarcerated people, and start chipping away at crime. Well, go out and have yourself a wonderful day and make beautiful memories for tomorrow.